Isaac McNeil picks the Auburn Tigers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into a very special edition of Locked On Auburn. I'm Zac Blackerby. The Auburn Tigers, in some breaking news, landing one of my favorite players in this class, Isaac McNeil, the four-star linebacker from Mobile, Alabama. Of course, he plays at Viger. Massive, massive win for Alex Golesh for several different reasons. I said this last week, leading up to this Tuesday evening decision, that this would really shape the opinion of several people, or it should shape the opinion of several people regarding how Alex Golesh recruits. And that's before the 7 Eagles that he tweeted out over the course of the weekend and the bat signals and the influx of commits that appears to be coming for the Auburn Tigers. And Isaac McNeil is a part of that. Holy cow. Because why is this recruitment so big? Well, one, Isaac McNeil is a heck of a player. And there's a lot of he's one of the best players in the state. 247 has him as the second best player in the state. 247 has him as the 6th best linebacker in the country when you look at the 2027 class. The player itself, that's obvious. That speaks for itself. Yes, Auburn clearly got a really good football player, a kid that DJ Durkin clearly wanted. And honestly, if DJ Durkin wants to, I think that says enough. You're hearing chatter about them comparing him to Xavier Atkins and extremely athletic. Obviously, Isaac McNeil, you've heard me talk about it over and over and over again, an elite football player. But I think what makes this even a larger deal is I think it kind of continues to push against all these narratives that, unless you're paying attention, is probably what you're seeing as you're scrolling social media and listening to talking heads throughout college football is, oh, well, Auburn's 3-star U. No, Isaac McNeil, no, he's one of the best players in this class, especially at his position. Stop that. Well, Auburn's just not going to pay for guys. No, this was an elite recruitment. This was an elite recruitment. Last week, we heard about Florida coming on strong, and then they kind of settled down. It seems like Auburn kind of held off that, but just texting with people throughout the day today, it was Georgia's not stopping. Georgia continues to come after this kid. I talked to one person close to the situation that said, look, this is going to go on until 5:59 p.m. Kirby is relentless. Look, this is an elite defensive player that Kirby Smart, head coach of Georgia, wants. How many times do you hear Brian Smith come on this show and talk about, well, if Kirby offered him and is hosting him on an official visit and he's making him a priority, yeah, that's good enough for me. Yeah, linebacker applies to that. You think about some of the greatest minds defensively in this conference with Kirby, I think DJ Durkin's up there. This was the guy that everyone wanted, and it came down to Auburn and Georgia. And what does Alex Golesh and this staff do? They find a way to get it done, which lines up with the narrative that is really emerging is when this staff zeroes in on someone, when they pass, okay, this is a guy that we can see winning with us. This is a guy that fits our culture. I'm sure they have a long checklist. This is a guy that we've identified and we've wanted because their scouting process and they're getting to know the kid. It does seem to be a little more intensive than other schools. When they zero in on a guy, they do what it takes to land him. And Isaac McNeil is exactly that. Anytime you can land a linebacker over Georgia is a big deal. And that is an opportunity to celebrate. And Auburn did exactly that with Isaac McNeil. Alex Golesh, I said this before. I said this last week. If Alex Golesh pulls this off, which he did, it changes the way that you look at what Alex Golesh is doing on the recruiting front. And guys, that was before Auburn supposedly locked down 7 guys this weekend to eventually join this class publicly. Like, this is exciting stuff. This is a big deal. And Isaac McNeil is a big deal. More on the type of impact he can have as an Auburn Tiger. Let me tell you, I think that impact will happen early. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Indeed. Indeed's the best place to hire. Look, we talk about recruiting. Sometimes it's a tough battle for elite talent. Indeed makes that easier. You post your job, you put into Indeed what you're looking for. It understands it, and it goes out and uses its service to say, all right, these are the people that would want this. It gets the applications for you, and then it says, these are the folks you need to interview. It's seamless, it's easy, it's effective, it's efficient. Listeners of the show, you can go to Indeed.com/podcast. You can get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job that premium 5-star status that it deserves. Once again, Indeed.com/podcast. Need to hire? That's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Everybody say it with me. Isaac McNeil is an Auburn Tiger, or at least part of the 2027 class, which seems to be red hot. And so you talk about, all right, this is a solid addition to this class. What does that mean? Well, you look at the other linebacker that's already in the boat, Kareem Palmer, who recently got his 4-star right after he committed to Auburn, did the Under Armour camp, ran a 4.3, gets the 4-star. And you just think about the athleticism that is in this room, that is coming into this room. And like, all right, you're probably losing Xavier Atkins after this year to the NFL. You got Elijah Melendez there, who's going to be the leader in that room next year. But I do think there's some snaps up for grabs, like Shadarius Tootle, Adam Balagoon Ali, who's probably like super slept on. I think he's going to have a surprisingly good year this year. But you're just going to reload. And what do we know about DJ Durkin and what we've seen with Alex Golesh, especially at his time at USF, is if you're the best player at your position, or you can just, if you're in a situation where you can help Auburn win, you're going to get on the field early. Look, if I'm Isaac McNeil, if I'm Kareem Palmer, if I'm any of these linebackers, I'm looking at how DJ Durkin used Elijah Melendez last year. Saying, okay, yeah. I mean, I think McNeil is more athletic than Melendez. I think they're both very good, and I think they're different styles. But man, like, I'm using that example over and over and over again, saying like, yeah, okay, I've got a chance to play right away. And look, like, we don't like it, and I hopefully this changes in the future, but that's probably a pitch that Georgia didn't have in their back pocket. And so I think that matters. I think money and NIL and rev share, I think all that came into play here. Like, this was an aggressive recruitment that, from what I can tell, came down to the wire. And Alex Golesh and this staff found a way to do what it takes to get the kid. And that is a big deal. Isaac McNeil, now part of the 2027 class. Incredible stuff. Can't wait to talk about this and more on tomorrow's edition of Locked On Auburn. Please make sure you're subscribed. Please like the video. Please subscribe. And if you're on audio, please subscribe and leave us a review. Helps the show out so much. Thank you. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.